He didn't see the bat until it was too late. Our mailman, Charlie, was halfway down our driveway when the man in black tactical gear stormed toward him. HOA cop printed across his vest like he thought he was running a military checkpoint. Charlie looked confused, fumbling with his delivery scanner. The man barked orders, accusing him of trespassing and violating non-existent HOA policies. Most of us ignored the guy when he strutted around the neighborhood pretending to be an authority figure. Fake badge, fake attitude, and now fake law enforcement. But this time, he snapped completely. "I said back off the property," the man screamed. Charlie opened his mouth to explain, but the fake officer lifted a metal baseball bat and swung. It cracked against the side of Charlie's arm and sent him screaming to the ground. The bat lifted again, this time aimed at his head. That's when my father stepped out of the garage. Retired Army drill instructor James Warren didn't shout. He didn't run. He walked forward like a man who'd handled crises on every continent and wasn't about to let a costumed bully ruin his day. "Drop the weapon," he said in a low, calm voice that froze blood. The fake officer turned, full of adrenaline, ready to fight whoever challenged him. "Back off! I'm conducting official HOA enforcement." Dad stared at the man like he was a mosquito. "You're about 1 second from being unconscious." But the officer wasn't listening. He charged. He never made it to the second step. Dad closed the distance, grabbed the man by the wrist, twisted, and the bat clattered harmlessly to the asphalt. A single shove slammed the officer against the side of our mailbox pillar hard enough to make dust fall loose. Dad pinned him there with one arm while dialing 911 with the other. The officer screamed threats, cursing, demanding to be released. Dad didn't flinch. "You assaulted a federal postal worker. You are not going anywhere." Charlie was shaking on the ground, clutching his injured arm, but alive, because Dad got there in time. Within minutes, 2 real police units screeched to a stop. Officers rushed out, weapons drawn, but quickly lowered once they saw the situation. Dad released the fake cop, and the man was slammed to the ground and cuffed instantly. But the weird part? When police searched his car, they found not just the bat, but a whole collection. Fake HOA ticket books, fake violation notices, a clipboard of residents' names and addresses, a folder stamped "Fines Collected." He wasn't just pretending to be HOA enforcement. He had been shaking people down for cash. Neighbors stepped out one by one as police pulled out evidence. Mr. Terry from down the road stormed forward shouting that he'd paid the man $200 to avoid a noise complaint. Mrs. Langley revealed she'd been threatened into repainting her house at her own expense. This wasn't a single act. It had been going on for weeks. Police hauled the fake cop toward the cruiser. That's when the real bomb dropped. One of the officers came back from running his ID and said, "He's not affiliated with the HOA. He's not affiliated with anything. He's a civilian with a history of impersonation." "Wait, so the HOA didn't send him?" Dad said. The officer shook his head. "No, but your HOA president might want to answer a few questions." That caught everyone's attention. 2 police cars stayed behind to gather statements, while another went straight to the HOA office. The president arrived 10 minutes later looking nervous, and not because someone had been assaulted. He began quietly whispering to police, eyes darting to neighbors forming a crowd. He wasn't surprised this was happening. He wasn't confused about who the fake cop was. Dad leaned toward me. "He knew," he said. And he was right. Police pulled the HOA president aside. Witnesses overheard everything. The president had been working with the fake enforcer. They created a scheme to intimidate homeowners into paying violation fees that never went into HOA accounts. They split them privately. And because the fake cop acted like a real authority figure, most people paid without calling the city or police. It was extortion wearing a uniform bought off the internet. The president was cuffed within minutes. When the mailman was taken to the hospital, Dad insisted on riding along. He stayed with him until Charlie's wife arrived, shook his hand, and said through tears, if you hadn't been there. Dad just smiled and replied, "No one bullies good people on my street." By the next evening, local news had picked up the story. Cameras rolled as real officers laid out evidence on a table: badges, forms, ticket pads, envelopes of cash. Dad didn't care about interviews or praise. He just wanted the neighborhood to feel safe again. But the police chief had one last thing to say at the press conference. If Mr. Warren hadn't intervened, this might have ended a lot worse. Residents should never hesitate to call the real police when something feels wrong. The next HOA election was the highest turnout in neighborhood history, and no one ever tried impersonating an officer there again.
I am Liam, and trust me, the next HOA story is even worse. Subscribe now.